Please be upstanding for Her Honourable the Mayor and Deputy Mayor.
Right, good evening everybody. Welcome to this full council meeting. My name is Councillor Carol Jewell. I'm the Mayor of Woking Borough and will chair this meeting. And can you hear me? I had a feeling you were looking blank, but I didn't know if that was normal. Hold on, I'll get a bit closer. Is that better? Yep. Right. Turn it up a bit more. Okay. Before we start the business set out in the agenda, I'd like to go through a few preliminaries. Please note that the meeting is currently being webcast live. There are no fire drills planned this evening. If the fire alarm sounds, please leave the building via the nearest exit and gather at the muster point 2, which is located in the car park at the rear of the building. Anyone requiring assistance should remain seated and await the assistance of the building support staff. A reminder that councillors do need to stand when speaking in the chamber. When speaking, please speak directly into the microphone. If councillors turn away from the microphone, the sound will not be picked up by online attendees. Can councillors ensure that their nameplate is clearly displayed in front of them? May I remind everyone that I intend to adhere strictly to the timings set out in the Constitution. First, can I ask, are there any apologies? Yes, Charles.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Many of us can't hear you back here. Now, I know that's nothing to do with you, but if there is something that could be done about it, it would be gratefully appreciated.
Okay. Let's see if we can turn it up. I need a loud hailer. Yeah. Okay, we're just going to reboot the system, see if we can get it a bit louder.
Last time, didn't we press it on? I think.
Testing, testing. Is that any better? No? Oh, okay. Testing, testing. Is that better? Is that better, everybody? Speak to me. Yeah? Right. The answer seems that I need to speak a bit louder, so I will try that. Never thought of that. Right, may I ask for any apologies, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we have apologies from councillors Jorgensen, Montgomery, Nagra, Munro and Mather.
Thank you. You may want to turn yours down a bit. And Stephen, sorry.
I don't know whether I'm going to come across loudly as Graham, but there's also Mark Brunel Walker.
Okay. Is that it? Anybody else?
Do we have Adrian on that list?
Do we have Adrian Mather? Yeah? Oh, okay, fine. Right, thank you very much. We move on then to the minutes of the previous meeting, which I'm sure you've all had a look at, which is in the papers. That's of the council meeting held on the 25th of September. May I sign the minutes as the correct record? If I could have a show of hands, please. Thank you very much. That's a majority. It's agreed. Thank you. Any declarations of interest, please? Stephen and then Greg and David.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm declaring an interest in relation to item 66 on the agenda, which is the council-owned companies. I need to declare an interest in my capacity as one of the directors of Wokingham Borough Council Holdings Limited.
Thank you. David?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also declare interest in item 66, statement for council-owned companies. I'm the non-executive director of Optalis.
Thank you. Greg, and then I think Prue.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I declare an interest in item 66 also, a statement from council-owned companies as I'm employed by Optalis. Thank you.
Prue.
And thank you. Same item 66. I am also a director of the holding company, like Stephen, and so I need to declare an interest.
Thank you. Have I missed anybody? No? Okay. So we move on to Mayor's announcements, and I've got a community cohesion statement to read out to you. These are worrying and disturbing times. Incidents of hate directed towards religious groups and minorities are increasing. Wokingham Borough is a welcoming place with strong community cohesion, but we cannot be complacent and we are not immune to intolerance and racism. So it is important that we both guard against hatred and actively promote inclusion and diversity, and at the same time are anti-racist. In this chamber, we are used to disagreement and the forthright expression of views, and we all have the right to express our opinion and the privilege of a public platform to do so. But with those rights and privileges come responsibilities, especially at a time when community cohesion is being tested across the country and when the public conversation is awash with venomous language designed to sow division and spread hatred. We are community leaders as well as political leaders, and what we say and how we say it matters, not just in this chamber, but in our public pronouncements on social media channels, the local press and other outlets. So, as the borough's mayor, I would therefore like to remind members from all political persuasions of the need to be careful over the language we use. I do not believe anybody here would want to cause any of our communities to be more fearful than they are already or feel unwelcome. As I said, we actively promote inclusion and diversity and at the same time are anti-racist. Thank you. We then move on to public question time. I'd like to remind the Executive Councillors that responses to questions must be no longer than 2 minutes, and these will be timed. We have 5 public questions. Mr. Cunnington, please will you put your question? Okay.
Shall we wind back to him, or can we just miss him out?
You can either say he'll get a written response because he's not here.
Okay.
Read his question out and hear the response.
I think read the question out then. So, do I have that?
You do. It's in the big pack here.
Oh, big pack, thank you. Right, thank you. Oh yes, Mr. Cunnington isn't online at the moment. We're not sure whether he will get on, but what I'd like to do is read out the question, get the answer, and then we can all hear that. Question is, with protracted and various highways work affecting access to Wokingham Town Centre and persuading residents to avoid the town as a result, at least until the works are finished, what evaluations do you complete during the preparation phase and during the implementation phase to understand the effect this would have on patronage, turnover and profitability for Wokingham's town small businesses? That's a question for Adrian.
Madam Mayor, thank you, and thank you, Phil, for your question. I assume you're referring primarily to the works for the South Wokingham Distributor Road. One of the aims of this project is to increase capacity on the Finchampstead Road, one of only 2 routes into Wokingham Town from the south. And whilst this work is underway, some additional delay in getting into or through the town is inevitable. Whilst the impact on traffic was looked at carefully, I'm not aware of any specific evaluations into the impact on businesses in advance of the work, and given that the road closure is unavoidable, I'm not sure what this would have achieved. Instead, our focus has been on planning the works to deliver the project with the least impact on the community, communicating clearly and in a timely way with businesses and residents about the closures and mitigations, and of course delivering the project to schedule, which is currently going very well. We have of course been monitoring the measures we have of what's going on in the town. From the 1st September 2025 to the 20th of October, there's been a small reduction in car parking tickets purchased in the town centre compared with a like-for-like period from last year, but this is a reduction of only 2.5%. Of course, not everybody travels into town by car, and there is some evidence of more people walking and cycling into town, noting that the roads which are closed to vehicles are normally open for walking. The measure we have of footfall based on mobile phone data seems to indicate a slight increase in footfall over recent months. Delays at the station level crossing are very dependent on the time that the level crossing gates are closed, but outside of peak traffic and train times, the additional delays are a matter of only a few minutes. I would encourage everyone not to paint too bleak a picture that may itself dissuade visitors. I do, of course, have every sympathy with businesses who work hard to build and maintain their customer base. The retail climate is challenging for many reasons, and our economic development team is working closely with businesses large and small to help them through this period and to look forward to serving the residents of the 2,000 new homes in South Wokingham, which this project will bring into the town.
Thank you, Adrian. There's obviously no supplementary. So we move on to the second question, which is from Michael Furniture.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, my question is, at the events at the Events Field Children's Play Area in Lower Early, currently there is approximately a 1 foot drop between the play level and the gate, which makes access with a push chair very difficult. In addition, the older children's play equipment is old and rickety. Can the executive member tell me what plans she has to improve access and equipment for older children?
Thank you for your question, Michael. As you may well be aware, Wokingham Borough Council is responsible for more than 100 play areas across the borough, providing vital opportunities for children to be active, social and imaginative. And as a parent of 2 children under 5, I know they're very valuable for parents' well-being as well. The level difference in the Events Field play area is a feature of many of these older playgrounds across the borough, and particularly those with bark chip surfaces, so it's a retaining wall to hold in the bark chips. And it absolutely can make access tricky, especially for pushchairs and wheelchairs. Many of our play areas do date from a similar era and are showing their age. Bringing them up to modern accessibility and safety standards with equipment that's exciting for older children as well as for younger ones is a significant challenge, particularly given the financial pressures we are facing. For this play area, officers have drafted a proposal for replacement of the play equipment at the Events Field play area, and we'll work with partners including Early Town Council to deliver this. In the meantime, officers will continue to monitor the site to make sure it remains safe and usable for local families.
Michael, do you have a supplementary?
Yeah, thank you. I'm sort of grateful that you're acknowledging there is an issue there, which there is. It's only just around the corner from where I live. I'm sort of also grateful that it is in the programme events, but I just really wonder, is there any timescale for that? And also, I do like to be kept to developments on it, so to make sure it does actually go ahead in a timely manner, because I think our children do deserve a safe space to play as well. So, and the best equipment.
Absolutely. So, to reiterate, safety inspections are carried out on a weekly basis, so we ensure that there are that our play areas are all up to a reasonable safety standard. We would love to have new, exciting play areas all across the borough, but we have to be realistic about the costs involved, especially when, particularly with this bark chip surface, the standards have moved on a long way. And so to actually put in a new brand new play area would be a very, very significant financial cost when we do look across the borough. I'm working with officers on a broader play area strategy to make sure that we find that right balance between improving accessibility, new equipment, but also doing it in a financially sustainable way to keep as many of these play areas active as possible.
Thank you, Catherine. I'll move on to the next question, which is Leon Cook, who understands on Teams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening. My question is for the Leader of the Council. You are on record as saying that mayoral strategic authorities are now the only show on the road and that you've been engaged in discussing them for a long period of time. How long have you been discussing a mayoral strategic authority with Oxfordshire?
Thank you for your question, Leon. Wokingham Borough Council has engaged with other councils in the Thames Valley since the publication of the government's white paper on devolution in December 2024. Prior to this, after the formation of the Berkshire Prosperity Board in June 2024, all 6 unitary councils in Berkshire submitted a joint expression of interest to government to seek a devolution deal for the county area without a mayor. That expression of interest failed precisely because we wanted to proceed down the non-mayoral route. The government's white paper makes it clear that mayoral strategic authorities are what it aspires to see in all parts of England. Hence my statement that mayoral strategic authorities are now the only show on the road.
Leon, do you have a supplementary?
I do, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Conway, for your comments. What I would say in response is that you're now proposing a joint mayoral strategic authority with Oxfordshire, having previously opposed it, as I understand it. You have said that a principal motivation has been infrastructure, but when pressed at the last Overview and Scrutiny Management Committee about the provision of a third Thames Bridge, you said that specific projects had not been discussed. Therefore, my question is as follows. How is this possible, given the lack of a decent crossing is one of the most important issues for Sonning and Thames residents and has been for over 40 years? And will you make this a red line for further entering into an MSA with Oxfordshire?
Thank you very much for your supplementary, Leon. First of all, I completely understand your interest in a third Thames Bridge. I believe I'm correct in saying that you're a Sonning resident, and I'm sure that's something of interest to lots of people in Sonning. You say that I was opposed to an arrangement with Oxfordshire. I think when we were looking within Berkshire for a non-mayoral proposal, I was very much in favour of Berkshire as the basis for a strategic authority. I think there's a lot of logic to that, but that does not find favour. It's clear that government wants a much bigger footprint than simply Berkshire. So the discussions have obviously broadened and things have changed as time has gone on. Your point about the third Thames Bridge and why it hasn't yet featured in discussions with Oxfordshire, I can answer that, I think, quite simply by referring you to the answer I gave to Pauline Jorgensen's question at the Overview and Scrutiny Committee meeting. The simple fact is we have spent the time since December 2024 trying to agree on what the optimal geography is, trying to agree on appropriate governance arrangements, and trying to agree on the broad strategic areas where we think a mayoral strategic authority would be useful. We have not yet descended to the level of looking at individual projects. That, I'm sure, will happen over the course of the coming year as we prepare ourselves for new mayoral strategic authorities. We will need to start exploring those kind of levels of detail. But the reason we haven't done so as yet is because we had these other broader strategic matters to assess. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question is from James Westhorpe, asking a question of the Executive Councillor for Children's Services. James.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So at the last council meeting, I asked when the council would publish the plan outlining the timeline for the Embrook sixth form build. The council committed to publish this plan on the 5th of September. At the last council meeting, the lead member advised that this had not happened as she had been in hospital. At the time of writing this plan, with a timeline showing when construction of the new facilities will be complete and when the building would open, had not appeared. So when will the council publish the plan, as it promised back in July 2025, showing the timeline for the project, including when main construction will start on the site and when the new build facilities will be completed and in use by September 2027?
Thank you, James, and welcome back. Thank you for your question regarding the Embrook sixth form build timeline, and I can confirm that the plan was uploaded to the Council's website on the 6th of October 2025, and that published plan includes the anticipated start date for the main construction on site, the timeline for completion of the new facilities, and confirmation that the building is scheduled to be open and operational by September 2027, in line with previous commitments. We have passed all this information to the Trust, who have been communicating directly with parents. We appreciate your patience and continued interest in this important project, and if you have any difficulty accessing the plan, would like a copy sent directly, please let us know. And I've got 2 links, one to a web page and one to the plan, which I won't read out because they're full of letters and numbers, but we will make sure that they're in the published minutes and that they're sent to you.
James, do you have a supplementary?
I do, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor, for your response. And I certainly hope that you're on the road to recovery. I welcome the publication of the plan. You know, it appears that you've published a clear plan which outlines the roadmap to the opening. However, this is subject to budgetary approval in February. Now, the Labour government is looking at taking £50 million over 3 years from Wokingham residents and moving it elsewhere. So with this increasing squeeze on council finances, how confident are you that this will appear in the council budget next February?
About as confident as I can be. We are sending various bits of the budget to overview and scrutiny for them to look at as it is prepared over the next few months. And Children's Services bids will be going on I think it's the 25th of November, from memory, something like that. There's a corporate community and corporate overview and scrutiny meeting towards the end of November, at which all those bids will be there, and I am confident that this will be included in that. If in January you have any further questions, please come back and ask them.
Thank you very much. Moving on to the next question, then, it's Simon Lang to ask a question of the Executive Councillor for Planning and Enforcement.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. So my question is, the residents of Shinfield Park were significantly affected by dust emissions from the demolition of the former Shire Hall site, particularly from the on-site crushing activities. The demolition contractor acknowledged that dust clouds could not be fully controlled. As this demolition was approved and monitored by the Council's planning and environmental and health teams, what lessons have been learned from the shortcomings in assessing and managing environmental impacts, and what actions are being taken to ensure that future demolitions and future developments near residential areas do not cause detrimental environmental or health impacts, such as dust or noise pollution?
Good evening, Simon. I just have to flick this back up again. It's disappeared into the ether. Here we go. So, beginning, thank you for the question. It's worth clarifying that matters relating to public health and pollution control are not within the local planning authority's gift to control or enforce under the Town and Country Planning Act. With regard to the demolition approval relating to the Shire Hall, documentation provided by the applicant outlined high-level best practice guidance to be followed during the demolition with specific reference to separate legislative controls and was deemed to be acceptable and above and beyond the requirements set by the Class B Part 11 of the General Permitted Development Order. All demolition and reclamation works need to follow appropriate legislation and approved codes of practice, including but not limited to the Health and Safety at Work Act, Control of Substances Hazardous to Health, COSHH, Regulation and Control of Pollution Act. The responsibility for meeting these requirements sits with the developer or contractor. Given the scale and breadth of such activity across the borough, it is impractical to undertake a proactive monitoring of all works of this nature, and the emphasis is on competent site management. The Council has to adopt a reactive approach and will investigate potential breaches where they are raised by third parties, as has been the case with Shire Hall. It is worth highlighting that concerns relating to active demolition sites can also be reported directly to the Health and Safety Executive, the HSE, for investigation. Thank you.
Simon, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, so I want to thank you for the answer. The issue residents faced that there were quite long delays when contacting, for example, the environmental and health team. And I wondered if you can give some guidance what families with children and elderly residents should do if they sit at home coughing, not knowing what kind of composition the dust is, if all the asbestos was removed and so on. So how should they act in this situation?
Simon, my first reaction is essentially to stick with the reporting process that's been given, and I will find out and let you know via written reply if there are any improved ways, or if you have an urgent situation, how you might respond to that more effectively. I'll provide that in writing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes the public questions. Michael, you're more than welcome to stay for the remainder of the meeting, but can I ask you that you view the meeting from the public gallery? Thank you. Right, we'll move on to item 60, which is parish and town council questions. I can confirm we have not received any questions from parish and or town councils. Item 61 is petitions. Does anyone wish to submit a petition? No? Okay, thank you very much. So we move on to item 62, which is the Joint Public Protection Committee and appointments. Before I ask for this report to be proposed and seconded, I need to inform you of an update to Appendix 1. The Joint Committee is made up of one executive member and two non-executive members from each constituent authority. Therefore, it is proposed that Councillors Lou Timlin, Stephen Newton and Pauline Jorgensen be appointed to this Joint Committee in accordance with political proportionality rules, and that Councillor Prue Bay would be the substitute member. This is what the Council will be asked to vote on this evening. I understand, Lou Timlin, you're proposing the report, if you'd like to. Do you have a seconder, please? Stephen, thank you.
Yes, thank you. So the proposal is that we join the Joint Public Protection Committee as a full member with voting rights, which gives us, as you say, 3 seats on that committee. I'm proposing it. I'm also proposing that I will be one of the members, but that's because I am the executive member for community safety and public protection, and that must be one of the seats that is taken. Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. Does any councillor wish to speak against the report? No. In which case we can move to the vote on the item. All those in favour of the recommendations as set out? That's unanimous by the looks of it. Thank you very much. I've just been reminded I ought to check. Anybody against? Anybody abstaining? Right, thank you, sorry. Thank you. We now move on to item 63, which is the councillor question time. Councillors are reminded that supplementary questions must either relate to the original question or the response that is given to that question and must be no longer than 1 minute. Executive councillors are reminded that responses to questions must be no longer than 2 minutes, and these will be timed. We have 7 councillor questions. I note that Councillor Sam Akhtar has withdrawn his question. Councillor Shona Turtle, please will you put your question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Could the executive member please provide an update on the supplementary question I asked at the council meeting in March? I was asking about the possible enhancements to the town centre to improve the environment and visitor experience.
Shona, thank you for your question. I have in the past asked a similar question myself of Wokingham Town before I was a councillor, and indeed it's recorded in a column I wrote in the local newspaper in 2021. Towns and shops thrive in people-centric environments. Peach Place and Elms Field in Wokingham are examples of what can be done. And whilst we still have through traffic through the marketplace, and it's somewhat dominated by traffic at times, I'm pleased we have at least got some trees in the marketplace. The continued passage of traffic through Wokingham Town Centre undoubtedly works against the visitor experience. The new distributor roads give some potential for removing traffic from the town centre for some journeys, but this was not their main objective and will not alone enable significant pedestrianisation. I agree that we need to consider this question properly for the future, and I'll be working with highways officers and the town centre teams on how it might be achieved in future. In the nearer term, we will be bringing forward proposals to reduce the speed limit in Wokingham Town and at other locations to more acceptable levels, as well as continuing to deliver improvements for walking, cycling, wheeling and bus travel to reduce the impact of traffic in towns. Our economic development team is, of course, also working with businesses and looking at how we can make all of our town centres nicer places as a part of their town centre strategy project.
Thank you. Shona, do you have a supplementary?
I do. Would you consider introducing 30-minute free parking spaces along Broad Street? This could be a game changer for the town. It encourages passing traffic to stop briefly, making it easier for people to grab quick essentials. This simple and low-cost change would boost footfall, support local businesses and create a more accessible town centre.
I may have my geography wrong, but I think there are already some limited waiting bays along Broad Street. More generally, I think it's unlikely that we will be taking any further measures that promote car use into town. Our priority is very much more to promote sustainable means of travel.
Thank you very much. We then move on to item 63.3. Dave Edmonds, you have a question of the Leader of the Council.
I certainly do. Thank you. The government has recently advised that it plans to close all asylum hotels by 2029. At the recent Liberal Democrat conference, Ed Davey announced it is now Lib Dem policy to close all asylum hotels. Can the council leader advise what steps the council is taking to ensure Wokingham Borough's hotel is prioritised for closure?
Thank you for your question, Dave. Ed Davey actually went a step further than simply saying the Liberal Democrats would close asylum hotels. He was clear that if elected, he would consider the need to clear the asylum backlog as a national emergency and as such use civil contingency powers similar to those used in wartime to set up Nightingale processing centres to address asylum claims more quickly. We believe this approach is in the interests of asylum seekers living in hotels, of communities hosting hotels and of taxpayers. Local authorities are not involved in, nor consulted on, decisions about when hotels open and indeed close within their local areas. This always has been and remains under the control of the Home Office. However, we have insisted on maintaining a regular dialogue between the Council, Thames Valley Police and the Home Office to try and drive better engagement, better communication between the Home Office and its local partners, i.e. the Council and the Police, and to support community cohesion. Only last week, senior officers and the Thames Valley Police met with colleagues from the Home Office here at Chute End to give our point of view in relation to the hotel within Wokingham Borough. Maintaining this relationship with the Home Office is crucial to ensuring effective communication between us. And I should add that to ensure Wokingham continues to be represented locally and nationally, Susan Parsonage, our Chief Executive, volunteered to be the Chief Executive Officer representative for the South East as part of the wider migration discussions with central government.
Thank you. Dave, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, I do. Thank you. At recent council meetings, I've observed a concerning pattern where Liberal councillors have labelled my questions as offensive. I want to assure this council and our residents that I will not allow these cheap tactics to deflect scrutiny. I remain committed to holding this executive to account for their catalogue of failures. Can I now ask what plans the leader of the council and his team are putting in place to reduce the number of illegal economic migrants living in this borough, which our residents are being forced to pay for, and whether he will make this a key objective in future council plans?
Dave, I would have preferred the question first, really, but...
Well, we'll ignore the disclaimer of your way in which you approach questions, and I'll try and focus on your question itself, which I believe you phrased it as illegal economic migrants. Is that correct? Well, I think you're in danger of conflating all sorts of different groups here. We have asylum seekers in the borough who are resident in the hotel. We have people here who have settled under resettlement schemes. And of course, by its very nature, illegal migration is very difficult for us to know much about. It is illegal, it's undocumented. We cannot assess who is involved in illegal migration, how many illegal migrants are here. Many are brought here as effectively slave labour gangs and work in appalling conditions. And we only know of their existence when somebody blows the whistle on these kind of dreadful arrangements and exploitation. I think you are trying to suggest, I hope this is not the case, that there are very significant numbers of illegal migrants in Wokingham Borough. I do not believe that is the case.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to item 63.4. Rohit, you're asking a question of the Executive Councillor for Community Safety and Public Protection.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I previously raised the issue of antisocial behaviour at the July Council meeting. Since then, I have received an increase in complaints from residents about this issue. While I have advised residents to report individual instances to the antisocial behaviour team, I am concerned that it is a part of wider trend in my area. Example includes a noticeable increase in litter, people captured on video ringing doorbells and running away, and groups of young men loitering after dark. What the council do to reassure my residents to feel safe? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. You're right, antisocial behaviour can be concerning for residents, and I'm grateful that you're encouraging your residents to continue to report any incidents that they witness that may be causing nuisance, distress or fear. We are fortunate in Wokingham Borough that we have some of the lowest crime and antisocial behaviour incidence rates in both the Thames Valley and actually the country. However, whilst rates are low, the borough is not without pockets and hotspot locations for antisocial behaviour. Littering, whilst not strictly antisocial behaviour, can contribute to residents' concerns about safety and fear of crime. Therefore, the Council's antisocial behaviour and enforcement team work collaboratively with colleagues in Cleaner and Greener team to ensure that issues related to waste and litter reach the right team and are responded to. I should note that loitering in itself is not automatically antisocial behaviour. People are entitled to gather in public spaces. However, if their behaviours are causing concern, harassment, alarm or distress, then we will act promptly and proportionately. Residents who do have a concern about antisocial behaviour can report incidents to either the Council's antisocial behaviour team or to Thames Valley Police. And officers in both of these teams continue to work closely to share information about people and places of concern and take a problem-solving approach to ensure the borough remains one of the safest places, both in the Thames Valley as well as the country.
Rohit, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for your answer. As we are now in autumn, it is getting dark earlier. Some vulnerable residents are particularly concerned with Halloween and bonfire night, where fireworks can be dangerous in the wrong hands coming up. Does the council intend to step up activity for the antisocial behavior team during this time? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I'm not actually aware of what we do extra around Bonfire Night, Guy Fawkes Night, but I will certainly look into that and get back to you.
Thank you very much. We move on to the next question, which is from Marie-Louise Wayhill to the Executive Council of Resident Services, Inclusion and Fighting Poverty.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since 2023, the Council has saved 4.48 million through a managed vacancy policy and corporate savings target at the expense of a reduction in the number of people it employs. Preliminary work on the medium-term financial plan for 26-27 shows a potential total reduction of 8.18 million, or 9% of the workforce, who are, of course, people as well as a force. Unison has spoken about the resulting stress levels that can be imposed on teams and individuals and how that stress is likely to increase. So I would like to ask the executive member what impact assessments are being made and what work is being planned to ensure that staff are fully supported through this process. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question, Marie-Louise. The council staff are vital to the delivery of services to residents. We are committed to doing everything that we can to make sure that we retain an engaged and empowered workforce. And this is reflected in our new people strategy. Demand for our services is increasing year on year, and budgets have been under pressure for many years now. The total figure which you quote is an estimate modelled over a 4-year period. This is part of the latest medium-term financial plan for 2026-27, which is in development and will be presented to Council in February 2026. We are in constructive discussions with central government about our budget and the need to maintain services for our residents. You're asking what impact assessments we make to ensure that our staff are fully supported. Managers are responsible for reviewing the well-being of team members. At times of change, they're responsible for undertaking risk assessments, and the effects on team members is a part of that. We provide training to managers on how to do this. We use a number of other tools to monitor and assess staff well-being, including the staff survey, KPIs, and the annual health and safety report. Depending on the tool and the measurement, members and the Chief Executive's team review these. The results inform the Council's work to actively manage workloads and well-being at a time that demand for services is increasing. This includes using new technology to do routine tasks, such as taking minutes, which frees up the time of skilled workers to deliver in their roles. We also provide support services such as our employee assistance programme and generally work to ensure that staff are treated fairly, can participate in discussion on issues which affect them and have a healthy work-life balance.
Thank you. Marie-Louise, do you have a supplementary?
I do indeed. Thank you very much indeed. And it's encouraging to see that that sort of work is being done. However, given, however much work is being done to promote people's well-being, if you're not sure if you'll have a job next year, it's really hard to see how that kind of work can actually have the impact you would like it to. Would you be able to give, for example, guarantees that there will be no compulsory redundancies?
So thank you very much for your supplementary, Marie-Louise. There's no plans for any large-scale redundancies at the Council at the moment, but staffing needs for each team are, of course, kept under review, as they are at all organisations. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Move on to the next question, which is Nagi Nagela. If you'd like to ask your question, Nagi.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question is to Executive Councillor for Planning and Enforcement. It has been a decade since the first residents moved into Wheeler Avenue in Norreys, and they are still waiting for the roads to be adopted by the council. But Mother Nature isn't waiting, and weeds are growing thick and fast. House builder Crush Nicholson is apparently responsible for maintenance of the road. yet residents are left with overgrown weeds and deteriorating unkept verges. What is the council doing to work with Crest to finally progress adoption?
I believe, Adrian, you're answering this question.
That's correct, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Nagy. As it's principally a question about the adoption of roads, that falls into my area. The streets in the Kentwood Farm development, including Wheelers Avenue, are subject to a signed Section 38 legal agreement requiring works to be completed to the Council's reasonable satisfaction. The works were signed off as substantially complete in September 2017, but with some remedial works to be finished before final adoption. WBC officers regularly chase progress with the developer, and we understand the fundamental issue preventing completion of defect corrections is, again, I'm afraid, the adoption of sewers by Thames Water. The Council cannot adopt a road when the sewerage network has not been adopted. In recent months, developer and Thames Water have begun to address these issues, and officers from the Council are working hard to support the resolution of anything outstanding to enable adoption, including ensuring that vegetation is maintained. The developer remains responsible for maintenance and any liabilities until such a time as the site is formally completed at the developer's cost and adopted. I have obtained the details of the developer so that as local councillor you can contact them directly on behalf of residents should you wish to do so, and I'll happily pass these on to you.
Thank you. Nagy, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I have tried contacting Crest multiple times so far. I picked up a couple of things. So, September 2017. So it's nearly a decade now since we are negotiating that. So, for last decade, the residents are struggling a lot with the wedges, and even there's a play park which they couldn't access, and there are huge rocks within the play park. So yeah, the sooner these can be addressed, that would be good. I have a little bit more to the question. So Crest has another estate not far from there, so which is again built on the similar years. So do we know what's happening with that estate? Thank you.
If you'd like to pass me the details of the estate concerned, I can obviously look into that also for you. I would reiterate that Crest is responsible and that these issues need to be addressed to them. I have the pleasure of dealing with Crest Nicholson in my ward in Arborfield Green as well, and I would say that once you find the right person to talk to at a senior level, it is possible to get some response from them. I can certainly help you through my contact in Arborfield Green, though I believe it's a different part of Crest Nicholson, but I can certainly help you try and find the right person to talk to if you're not getting responses. There is, as you would expect, the council will not take on financial liabilities until the developer has completed their work. So you and others need to look to the developer first of all with your residents to try and get these issues resolved.
Thank you very much. We now move on to item 63.7 and Greg Bello to ask a question of the Executive Councillor for Active Travel, Transport and Highways.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At the last council meeting, several councillors shared how residents want buses from their wards to Twyford Station. The answer was that consultation will launch in January. This consultation will be like the bus route from Woodley to Wokingham. It goes the long way round to reach its destination. Why not save time and take the direct route to set up a Woodley to Twyford service that residents keep asking me for?
Thank you, Greg, for your question. I share your frustration, and I'd love to do this now, together with improving bus services between Wokingham Town and Twyford, Lower Early and Wokingham, and the many other routes where residents want new or improved services. We rely on bus operators to set up and operate routes where they're commercially sustainable, and we only have limited resources from national government, developers and taxpayers with which we can support priority services and services which we hope to grow in future to be commercial. We have a responsibility to ensure that bus services are available where they are needed most. Having made enhancements already this year, our support funding is fully committed until 2027, and our current community engagement and the development of service options is focused on identifying and prioritising needs for that period. Even then, we won't be able to deliver everything that's been requested, but we are working with partners, including town and parish councils, to review the options developed so far, including opportunities for further funding. The options being examined will be shared with the public through the consultation, which you mentioned, leading to 2027 when we'll be able to implement them. And a full update on the service review process is being made to the Overview and Scrutiny Committee next week. I recall that you wrote to me a few months ago asking for some further information on the bus service review, and I suggested that later in the year would be a good time to do that. And I'm happy to reiterate that offer now if you would, perhaps after the ONS meeting, when you've heard what's said there, like to come in and meet with the team.
Thank you. Greg, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Thank you for your answer, Adrian. At the last council meeting, you said that Woodley residents are benefiting from additional late-night buses on Friday and Saturday nights. 4 extra buses barely touches the sides of what is needed to improve public transport in Woodley, especially as residents keep asking me about the direct route from Woodley to Twyford. Will you commit to meeting with me to form a proper plan to ensure Woodley is not treated as an island after the bus service review?
Yes, Greg, certainly we can cover that at the same meeting. I don't want to overpromise because we do have limited funding, but very much our aspiration is to make the bus available as a first choice for people travelling everywhere at almost any time of day. We're somewhere away from being able to achieve that, but that's the direction of travel, and it'd be good to discuss details of that with you. Thank you.
Can I just mention that one of the members has got something written on their nameplate which I think is maybe a little bit insensitive and we should take it down. It's in the back row. It's been shown on camera as well.
Right. Alex, I'm told it's you. Could you maybe either cover up your nameplate or change it in some way?
I don't know what it's referring to. It's just my name.
Have you changed your name by Alex Free Palestine?
I don't know.
I can't see it from here, so I'm sorry. I'm relying on people.
It says Alex Free Palestine.
Alex, could I ask you to turn your nameplate down, please, and then we can move on. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rebecca. We move on to a question from Andrew Gray to the Executive Councillor for Audit Services, Health and Wellbeing.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A large retirement apartment complex called The Chapters was built behind the School Green Centre in Shinfield. It currently sits unoccupied and has been for the last couple of years. It seems a waste of a new building like this to be empty. Has the council considered using it for supported living?
Thank you for bringing this to my attention, Andrew. As I'm sure you're aware, this council has a strong ambition to be self-sufficient in its care provision. We have shown a strong track record purchasing new assets or repurposing existing assets to provide the support and care needed by the community in the borough and owned by the council. We call this type of investment invest to save, and as I'm sure you will appreciate, sizable investment is often required, and therefore a strong, sound business case needs to justify it. I'm sorry that this site has been unused for so long, but at this particular site, we've looked at it previously and have not been able to produce a sufficient sound business case when considering the initial investment, costs required, and ongoing costs and risks. We will, of course, consider other opportunities as they arise, and I thank you again for bringing this to my attention.
Right. Do you have a supplementary?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Thank you for your response. It's a very, very big complex. It's 80 one- and two-bedroom apartments, and as I've mentioned, it's been built and sat empty for a few years now. I appreciate the point about business case, but interestingly, Anchor, the company managing it, has now taken all those off their website, advertising them. So I'm just wondering if there's anything that the council can do to bring this site into life. I know we are in desperate need of housing across the borough, and it just seems a shame that this site is being left empty with no clear plan for actually any timeline when it's going to be used.
Thank you for your supplementary, and certainly I believe that the quality of the build is one of the problems with the site, and probably why Anchor isn't selling it either, because that's certainly something which I've heard. But I will talk to officers about whether we might be able to help in any way. But obviously we don't want to invest if we're not going to get a return, and I hope you can understand that.
Thank you very much. That concludes the questions. We move on to item 64, which is the minutes of committee meetings and ward matters. Could those councillors who wish to speak on this item please raise your hand? Keep it raised, please, so we can make a note of who wishes to speak. Use another one, lost my tissue. Oh no, I'm sitting on it. I'll read who I've got.
You've got Jackie on it? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll read who I've got and shout if you're not included in that. Catherine Glover, Caroline Smith, Greg Bellow, Mike Smith, Sam Akhtar, Yusra Salmon, Vishal. Can't read that. Oh, Jackie Vance, Chris Cook. Thank you. Found it. Oh, and can we add Charles as well? Now I've got my bits of paper in order. Could I ask Caroline Smith to start, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to ask the Executive Councillor for Economic Development, Sport, Leisure and the Arts. Following on from last month's full council and Councillor Moses' question on Laurel Park, I would like to continue with this tradition and ask for an update on Laurel Park and the ongoing parking situation. Thank you.
Thank you for keeping this tradition going, Caroline. So, in my executive role of sport and leisure, we've facilitated the stakeholders working together in Mayfield over lots and lots and lots of conversations with the Early NAG, with the Early Town Council, with Laurel Park Football Club and you as ward members. It culminated in a meeting at Laurel Park Football Club last month, which I chaired, and ideas were floated and opinions were exchanged. And this resulted in all parties taking responsibility in the mitigation attempts. And with some success, this is why we continue to work on the long-term solution. And Caroline, your offer as ward member to keep the dialogue going is very much valued. And please let me know how I can support you.
Thank you very much. Could I then move on to Sam Akhtar, please?
Thank you. My question is for the exec member for Highways.
A number of residents from Charlton and Solling in my ward have raised concerns about the state of the roads and the need for repeated pothole repairs in the same locations. Could the council please provide data on the number of pothole repairs in the ward that have required multiple visits due to poor quality or short-lived repairs? Does the council keep such data, and if so, what is the cost of these repeat visits compared with carrying out a more durable repair the first time around?
Thank you, Sam. As I'm sure you'll expect, I don't have that information to hand, but I will certainly get you an answer.
Thank you. Greg, you're next.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question is for the Executive Member for Active Travel, Transport and Highways, as I enjoy our encounters. Recently, there has been what appears to be a rushed introduction of car parking charges in the Berkshire Air Museum in Woodley's car park, with what appears to be no consultation with the Museum Management Committee. Can you tell us why there was no consultation, and can you give a commitment that a meeting will be set up for officers to discuss a series of outstanding operational questions with me and the Management Committee of the Berkshire Air Museum in Woodley?
I'm afraid that's actually me, Greg. You get deprived of Adrian's commentary, as this introduction was led by the Countryside Service. So as I understand it, significant engagement was carried out with the Air Museum. I understand that when the TRO consultation was published, one of the officers involved did respond to you directly to try and clarify some of these. I'm sorry to hear that doesn't seem to have happened, but I'm sure we will follow up on these. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Smith is the next one.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question is for the Executive for Planning, Councillor Alder. In my ward, I've received several complaints from residents that they were unaware that residents in their streets were extending their homes until work actually started. I understand we satisfy the legal responsibility by sending postcards to immediate neighbours at the start of the consultation period. I also understand we send a display notice to the applicant and suggest they may like to display it. Please, can we consider requiring applicants to display these useful notices? Thank you.
Mike, thanks for your question. Yeah, it's we had some questions along these lines some time ago, so a couple of the bits I do remember. And as I say, there is a requirement to notify adjacent landowners and so forth around certain applications, and some which stretch towards you're actually obliged to do it to a wider audience when it's major developments and things like right-of-way listed buildings. And as you say, we do provide a template so that landowners can voluntarily put a site notice explaining what's going on, but we've unfortunately got no legal powers to demand it of the landowners. But if there's anything more I can add to that, I'll give you a full written reply.
Thank you very much. Vishal.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question refers to, again, the demolition and construction in Shire Hall in my ward of Shinfield. Last time I asked about the demolition. This time, residents are a bit concerned about potential dust and noise problems occurring during construction. Can I know what the council is doing to make sure that doesn't happen or reduce it as much as they can?
I'll refer you back to the answer we had for Simon Lang, which is pretty much covers most of it, but I can give you the written details as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chris Cook.
None? There we go, got it. Thank you. I've got a question for the Executive for Community Safety and Public Protection. Given the success of the Public Spaces Protection Order at Carnival Pool and the apparent reduction it's had on antisocial behaviour in that area, how are residents in the town able to make sure that this is renewed when the time comes to ensure that they still get the protection it provides?
Thank you for that question. Yes, as you're probably aware, we had a 3-year public space protection order was put in place specifically to address residents' concerns around car meets that were happening at 3 places in the borough. We're now proposing that we extend that by a further 3 years. We believe we've had quite a lot of success. There's been, testing my memory, 73 fixed penalty notices and a 41% reduction in reports. So there is a live consultation on our website. It's open until the 2nd of November, Sunday the 2nd of November. So very much encourage residents. We really want to hear from them. We think it's a good idea to extend it, but I'd really like to hear from your residents as well. So anything you can do to encourage them to share their views is very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Jackie Vance.
Thank you. The phrase, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, rings true for this council. 1st of February, Wych Elm Road tenants in Shinfield reported kitchens leaking pipes, slugs, unplastered walls, kitchen units rotten. WBC sent some contractors whose leader was not very friendly. New contractors have been out several times, botched job on the pipes, which are still leaking, failed to attend when they said they would, and attended when they were not expected. 8 months later, still no work commenced. Another couple moved into a bungalow. Disabled husband, having had liver transplant, brain tumour, has respiratory problems and toeless feet. That very night, the bathroom ceiling fell down. Cause, a leak. Through exhaustion, they laid the mattress on the bedroom floor to discover it was sloping and damp. WBC sent contractors out who put in humidifiers, but the hoses were incorrectly fitted. So we are told at every turn there is no money, but how much is being spent on and wasted on inept contractors who seem to have no coordination, no sequential list to do a job, who send out different blokes each time, do a bit here, do a bit there, and then disappear for weeks.
I have the feeling you were directing that at me, although you didn't actually say so, Jackie. But housing obviously comes in my remit. If you could provide me with those details in writing, I will follow them up and try and give you a proper answer. It's obviously difficult for me to do so without information in front of me. But we are trying our best, given that some of these are very historic, that you're talking about, we are doing our best to try and ensure an improvement in the repairs and maintenance service. There is a new contractor in place who is overseeing trying to complete and remedy some of the work done by the previous contractor. But if you can give me those details, I will get back to you with a fuller response.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Catherine Glover.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question is for the Executive Member for Children's Services. When walking around my ward recently, I have noticed that the students at Oakbank School are looking much smarter, wearing lovely new uniforms. I've even seen social media posts where parents recommend to other parents that they consider Oakbank for their children. The new Multi-Academy Trust seems to be engaging with the community, themselves posting frequently on social media, and this week delivering invitations to an open evening which they hosted yesterday. Has the Greenshaw Learning Trust also been engaging with children's services, and what impression have the officers formed of their progress?
Thank you for that question. It's nice to have something positive to say about Oakbank. It is early days, but yes, they have been engaging with us very constructively. We're working well together, and although there are still, not everything's perfect, things do seem to be heading in the right direction, and we are getting lots of reports from parents who are much happier. What I would say also is that I understand that they made a bid for capital funds from the DFE, and I don't know how much money they've got, but I believe they have got some. So that is also to look forward to. But so far, I know we're just at half term, but it seems to be going very well. So it's really pleasing to see the school turning round.
Thank you very much. Charles Baguettes.
Thank you. Question for the Executive Member for Highways. Having visited California Crossroads at the post office at 2 o'clock today and witnessed what I could only call parking chaos absolutely everywhere. One car in the disabled space, another one parked in the road next to it, a third one parked across the front of it, 2 white vans blocking the access to Avery Corner car park. Could we please have some enforcement fairly regularly down there to stop this happening again?
Thank you, Charles. Possibly, depending on whether it's something we are able to enforce. Our ability to enforce depends on having parking restrictions in place. But if you'd like to send me a little bit more detail, I'll certainly pass that on to the parking team. And if we can enforce, we will. If not, we are likely to have to refer you to the police. We know the police don't take these things seriously, but we can certainly try and help.
Thank you very much. Dave Edmonds.
Thank you very much. My question is for the Leader of the Council, Stephen. At our last council meeting, you stated that Woking Borough Council would need to request a review of the detailed emergency planning zone, the DEPZ, from West Berkshire Council to determine whether the zone should be expanded to protect the growing number of residents in the south of the borough. Given the significant safety risks posed by the rapid increase in housing near the zone, can you now confirm whether this urgent request has been made? If it has not, why has there been such a delay, and why have you failed to prioritise resident safety over your ill-conceived development plans?
That's perilously close to the same question you asked last time, which I answered fully and to the best of my ability at that stage. But just for the avoidance of doubt, the development plans that you are referring to were initiated by your administration, your previous administration. They were inherited by ours, and this attempt to suggest that we are paving over the south of the borough as a Liberal Democrat plan is wrong, completely wrong, as I pointed out before. I also pointed out to you when we last had a conversation about this matter that the West Berkshire Council, which is the responsible body in this case, will be reviewing all of this in this coming January. So we are in the queue for review. There will be a good look at this at that stage.
Thank you. Move on to Shahid Yunus.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question is for the Executive Member for Highways. You're a very popular person today. A number of my residents in Bulmesh and Coronation Ward have raised serious concern about the speeding on Reading Road in Woodley. I live on that road, hence I know the issue at first hand. People doing 60 miles on a 30-mile speed limit. As a result, there has been a number of accidents on junction of Haworth Drive, Reading Road, which the council is aware of. Can I invite the executive member to meet me and the local councillors to see what traffic calming measures can be taken to address the residents' concerns? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Yes, it's an area I am aware of, following a fairly serious accident there a few weeks ago, and I have already discussed the junctions along the road and the road with officers. The road currently has a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit on it, I believe, and it doesn't at this stage appear likely that we'd wish to reduce the limit. However, adherence to the speed limit is potentially an issue. This has been discussed with the Thames Valley Police, and speed monitoring has been carried out along the road, and currently the police's position is that this is not a priority for enforcement for them. However, I have been discussing with officers some features of some of the junction design, including some of the road markings and the proximity of buses to some of the junctions, and we believe there may be things we can do to improve the flow of traffic along the road and make it less vulnerable to collisions. So we are looking at that. I know the circumstances fairly well, but of course I would be happy to meet you there if there's anything further you'd like to show me.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, Visra.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Residents in Woodley are frustrated over the GP appointments. For getting an appointment, they have to attempt the 8 a.m. phone rush call. You call at 8:01 a.m., but lines are already jammed. And all appointments are gone by 8:04 a.m. or 8:05 a.m. Secondly, followed by the difficulty with the online systems, not getting a face-to-face appointments. Another dilemma, long waits for the routine appointments is 3 to 4 weeks. Can the Executive of Health and Wellbeing has any concrete plan to improve GP services in Woodley? I think it's with David here, please.
Yes. Thank you very much for your question. Unfortunately, no, we have no power with the NHS, and indeed GP services are private services as well, so it makes it doubly hard because it's the NHS and then the private service that's taking part. We will, of course, talk with Bob, who are amalgamating at the moment, so we'll talk to the people in charge, but we can't change anything, and certainly last time we talked to them, they said our number of GPs per head of population were no worse than other areas. So I'm sorry, and yes, it can be quite hard, but certainly I'll talk to Bob, but I can't do anything else.
Thank you very much. That concludes the item 64, which we did in just under 20 minutes, so thank you for being so concise. Item 65 is statements by the leader and executive councillors. Stephen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At the last council meeting, I updated colleagues on the discussions that have been taking place on mayoral strategic authorities. The leaders of councils in our Thames Valley region have now agreed, subject to approval from their respective councils, to proceed to the submission of an expression of interest in joining the government's programme for delivering mayoral strategic authorities across all of England. I should stress that an expression of interest does not commit any council to more than engaging with the government about a potential mayoral strategic authority for the Thames Valley. Mayoral strategic authorities are not another layer of local government and will not compromise the sovereign authority of this or any other council in their areas. They are best understood as the devolving to a regional level of some of the key strategic functions of national government. They provide an opportunity for constituent councils to exercise more influence over strategic decisions than they possess at present. As I said last month, whatever their reservations about elected mayors, leaders of all the councils recognise that a mayoral strategic authority is the best means to have a regional voice at national level. That voice is needed for the Thames Valley, as there is a very real danger that its role as a powerhouse of the UK economy is taken for granted by central government. For the Thames Valley to continue to contribute so impressively to the UK economy, infrastructure constraints need to be addressed. A mayoral strategic authority, in our judgment, is the best way to lever in the investment that can help to address those infrastructure constraints. The financial opportunities are important with many of the councils in the Thames Valley, including Wokingham. I'm sorry, I thought I'd finished my cold, but clearly it's still lingering. Set to lose significant government funding in the 3-year local government finance settlement. Mayoral strategic authorities provide a route to money that would otherwise be unavailable to us. Nor is it only money from government that's made available to mayoral strategic authorities. There are also greater opportunities for inward investment by private bodies that want to engage at a regional rather than council level. If we delay putting in an expression of interest, we risk being at the back of the queue when it comes to attracting resources, both public and private. As I said before, all the leaders, Liberal Democrats, Labour and Conservative, view the potential prize as great and believe that refusing to participate is very unwise. The government's ambition to have all parts...
get to the end, please?
Yep. The government's ambition to have all parts of England in a mayoral strategic authority is crystal clear, and if we don't engage, we will have this imposed upon us. There's going to be an all-member briefing in early November, and the council meeting later that month will be given the opportunity to vote on whether Wokingham should support the submission of an expression of interest on behalf of the Thames Valley.
Thank you. Stephen, I apologise. I was looking at the lights rather than what my sheet says. So, thank you. I understand that Mark Ashwell and Adrian Betteridge would like to make a statement. Mark.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. As your Executive Member for Economic Development, I wanted to take this opportunity to quickly update you on our Council's action to support our town centres. Following the launch of our town centre strategies early this year, we've taken the first action of recruiting our town centre officer by the name of Warwick Heskins. Warwick joins our team with the perfect credentials. Warwick started out as an auditor, became a director of a hospitality business, and then chaired the Newbury Business Improvement District, the BID. He's a local man who has excellent knowledge of Wokingham Borough and the main centres of Wokingham, Woodley and Twyford. This experience and knowledge will help drive the continued economic strength and support our local businesses, not only to survive but to thrive within our town centres. Now, the work and timing of our town centre strategy and the recruitment of our town centre officer is planned to provide the maximum support to our principal towns. Certainly, the spotlight will be very much on Woodley Town Centre, although the infrastructure works around Wokingham Town Centre are also providing the perfect opportunity to support our businesses there. We're teaming up with the Town and Parish Councils, Woodley Town Centre Partnership, Twyford Together, and we're also bringing out our action plan to this Council's Overview and Scrutiny Committee in November. This will all help facilitate the collaboration of business, community and government working together to make that positive difference in our town centres. So, Madam Mayor, I ask you to watch this space. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. So, Adrian.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Wokingham Borough is very reliant on car travel, and whilst we hope to reduce that dependence by improving sustainable options for local travel in future, our network currently, as we know, has limited tolerance for road closures. I want to explain the work that officers in the council are doing to keep traffic flowing whilst the roads are constructed and connected for the new South Wokingham development. Our street works team are the unsung heroes of the highways and transport team, responsible for controlling access to the network for all utility and construction works. Whilst the South Wokingham works are underway, our biggest pressure point is south of Wokingham town. In this area, since the work started, the team has responded to 200 utility company applications in the Barkham and Finch Hampstead parishes alone, 69 of which were for immediate urgent access. 60 non-urgent requests have been refused, and a number of major works on key arteries have been delayed or cancelled, including revoking a permit for a very large capital project that had been planned for a number of years. The team is extremely professional in its dealings with utility companies, negotiating outcomes to support many different aspects of residents' needs, not solely keeping the roads open, but also helping with issues such as the Evandens Lane sewer, water supply issues for the growing Arborfield Green development, and guiding utility companies towards suitable windows for work in the longer term. The team makes sure that utility companies can access roads to deal with emergency repairs. They ensure that appropriate diversions are put in place that meet the needs of the travelling public, but also considering the impact of residents along diversion routes. They balance the needs of road users with residents' requirements for new and upgraded utility supplies, including replacing aged infrastructure to reduce emergency work that impacts everybody. The team inspects works to ensure compliance with the issued permits and, where necessary, instructs companies to reopen a road or replace a closure with traffic lights. The team is self-funded from permit fees and additionally raises fines where necessary where permits are not followed. The Streetworks team has been in the vanguard of improving highways and transport communications, including urgent notifications via our Traffic and Travel social media page and their weekly email newsletter, and I would encourage anyone with an interest in these issues to subscribe to both. Madam Mayor, nobody welcomes any disruption to our road network, but we are lucky to have a great team working hard every day to meet this complex range of residents' priorities.
Thank you very much. Right, we now move on to item 66, which is statements from council-owned companies. Does any councillor wish to make a statement under this item? Stephen, have you got the voice for it?
Thank you. Yeah, I hope I've got some voice left to do it. I blame Dave, actually, for inflicting this on me, making me speak longer than I'd planned to. I should like to take this opportunity to update Council on a change in the personnel at Loddon Homes Limited. Simon Dale held the post of Managing Director during the demanding period of changing the company governance structures in line with the Altair review. And I want to thank Simon for his hard work on this and on establishing a pipeline for delivery of affordable housing, and particularly for his efforts in conjunction with officers from Adults and Children's Services to make available more specialist accommodation for the council. Simon is succeeded as Managing Director by Karen Howick, who has worked for the housing companies over many years and knows the affordable housing sector very well. She is an excellent appointment, and Holdings Company and the Shareholder Committee look forward to working with her. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. We move on to item 67, which is motions. I've got motion number 533. Charles Maggetts, will you be proposing this motion?
Yes, please, Madam Mayor.
And do you have a seconder?
I certainly do.
Thank you, Charles. I'd like to speak to it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Anyone who's tried to use Wokingham Town Centre will be fully aware of the disruption the roadworks, which have been referred to earlier, are causing. These roadworks are scheduled to last till April next year. The work is a major barrier for local residents using in the town centre. I've been in contact with 10 businesses in the town centre over the last few weeks who are reporting turnover being down by 25 to 30% since this work started. We all know the importance of this road, which will bring benefits to people across the borough when it's complete. The roadworks on Finch Hampstead Road are needed before the Southern Distributor Road is linked to the network. It's obviously important this work delivered on time, and I welcome the executive member's commitment to that earlier. 10 years ago, Wokingham Borough Council led the redevelopment of Wokingham Town Centre, which has significantly improved the area. Many of the shops in the town centre are independent small businesses. Wokingham Borough Council owns much of the town centre and collects rental income as well as business rates. It's distressing when you hear of the financial impact this is having on small businesses. If you visit Wokingham on a Friday night, as I did last week, you'll see empty restaurants and deserted streets. We all need and want our town centres to be thriving and the businesses in them to be sustainable even during difficult economic times. My message to any resident in the borough is please come to Wokingham and support these businesses. I know it's more difficult to get here, but if you don't lose them, we run the risk of losing them, and none of us want that. It is the responsibility of the council to create an environment in the town centre where a business can set up, provide a service, generate employment and income. This motion is calling for WBC to put in place a temporary scheme to encourage this for the duration of the roadworks by allowing 1 hour free parking. The CFO comments in the agenda show a cost against this scheme. I would simply ask members consider the possible impact of a small number of businesses failing and vacating their premises. WBC owns much of the town centre. A property agent in Wokingham told me last week that he's currently taking 9 to 12 months to find a new tenant for a prime Wokingham unit. Therefore, the potential loss to WBC from a purely financial view of one empty shop could be £50,000 to £100,000 in lost rent, lost business rates, marketing costs and staff time in finding a new tenant. This does not cover the social costs of unemployment and the harm caused to the business owners and the families there. A 30% hit for any business for 6 months in these uncertain times can easily tip them over the edge. I think this scheme could easily end up as a net positive benefit from a financial, social point of view and could even be rolled out further across the borough. Therefore, from a financial and social perspective, it's in the interest of all parties for WBC to provide an incentive for all residents to visit the town centre, support our businesses, maintain life and get it through this difficult period. And I would ask that all members support this motion and support our local traders.
Thank you, Charles. Does any member wish to speak against the motion? Okay, so can I stop at that point and ask your seconder, do you wish to speak now or reserve your right?
I reserve my right.
Thank you very much. Okay, if you want to speak against, could you put your hands up and we'll make a note, please.
Yes, speak at all. Yes.
Sorry?
Anybody who wants to speak at all.
Yes, I assumed that, sorry. Speaking for or against. I've just been reminded to let you put your hands down. Sorry, could I use my microphone? I've got the first one I've got is Mark Ashwell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As your Executive Member for Economic Development, I have to say this motion is crass. You need a liberal society for capitalism to work for all. And this motion would cost a staggering £650,000. Yep, that's £650,000. Charles? Oh, there you are. Sorry, just... please can I ask you to reflect on which vital services you would act to provide this frankly ill-conceived support for businesses in our Wokingham town?
That will be answered, I think.
Well, no, look, silence is a... Yes. Come on, Madam Mayor. I've got 3 minutes here, so just give me some silence.
Madam Mayor, I'm happy to respond at the end, or listen to more of this, basically, and then respond to all of it in one go.
I think there'll be an opportunity later on to answer.
I just went silent, Madam Mayor. Can I have my time back, please? Our mission, Charles, is to build a community's wealth by making sure no one misses out. Would you take Amy out of care, or would you cut the educational needs provision for Kitty? Or perhaps stop Ron attending his daycare support? Look, as a fellow Wokingham Borough business owner for 40 years, I've great empathy with our town centre businesses in Wokingham, Woodley, Twyford and beyond. And I've got to know and love a lot of our Wokingham town businesses over the past 30 years. And I do know that Phil's Good Foods, Pete from the Dry Cleaners, Rory from Pratt's Pods, Keith from Jay's Printers and Lily from the Broad Street Tavern and many others would never support swapping $650,000 of vital services for the short-term anxiety of our much-needed infrastructure works. that they understand that it's incumbent upon all of us to change the narrative. Start talking our town up in these circumstances. And do you know what? There's no gain without pain. I'll give you a bit of silence again, Charles. How about that? I've got a bit of time. So with that in mind, can I ask you to please withdraw this motion, Charles? Withdraw the motion, and then perhaps me and my shadow Conservative councillor for Economic Development, Stuart, I'm not sure where he is, and I could present a joint motion in support of our town centre businesses at our next full council meeting. Charles, the choice is yours. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. And I move on to Dave Edmonds, please.
Thank you. This motion for 1 hour of free parking isn't about giveaways. It's about protecting Wokingham's economy. Right now, our town centre businesses are down 20 to 25% in trade. Not because they've done anything wrong, but because roadworks and congestion are keeping customers away. These are our local employers, our ratepayers, the lifeblood of our high street, and they're struggling. Now, I know the CFO has warned this could cost the council £650,000 in lost parking income, but let's be clear, that's only half the story. If businesses go under, the financial damage will be far worse. We'll lose business rates, which fund local services, jobs, meaning less income tax and national insurance to the Treasury, local spending, cutting VAT and corporation tax. And when people lose work, they may need housing and council tax support, putting even more pressure on council budgets. So the question isn't, can we afford this? The real question is, can we afford not to? Every empty shop means lost income, lost confidence, and lost community vibrancy. This proposal is not a cost, it's a short-term investment to prevent long-term financial loss. And we know it works. According to sources I found, Shrewsbury introduced a first-hour free scheme. Footfall jumped 12% in just 6 months. That's more people visiting, more money spent locally, and stronger tax revenues across the board. We could see the same here in Wokingham, if we act decisively. So let's stop viewing this as a 650,000 hole in a spreadsheet. Let's see it for what it is, a chance to keep our businesses open, our residents employed, and our town centre alive through a difficult period. Colleagues, let's be practical, not penny-wise and pound foolish. Let's back our traders, back our local economy, and back this motion for 1 hour free parking in Wokingham Town Centre. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got Catherine next.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So let's be clear from the start, free parking is not free. Someone always pays, and in this case, it will be our residents, our budget, and our planet. And in last week's paper, the leader for the opposition accused the Liberal Democrat administration of not prioritising the climate emergency. Frankly, that's hypocritical nonsense. I, for one, have a firm grip on the fact that the single biggest emission reduction measure in our climate emergency action plan is cutting mileage shares from petrol and diesel vehicles. Yet here we are tonight, debating a Conservative motion that does the exact opposite, encouraging more short car trips and handing out subsidies for private car use. It's bad for the environment, bad for the council's finances, and bad policy. I always welcome constructive challenge. Councillors from all parties have worked together to strengthen our climate response, and I thank those who do so seriously. But this motion isn't serious. It ignores the reality that thriving local businesses depend on footfall, on safe walking and cycling routes, on good public transport, not on more cars circling or sitting in queues for free parking. So let's call this what it is, another headline grab. Another desperate populist attempt to drum up fast disappearing Conservative votes while undermining climate action. If the Conservatives truly believed the climate emergency was real, they wouldn't be pushing policies that make it worse. I urge colleagues who genuinely care about the planet, our finances and our future to vote against the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Rachel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, I want to take you back in time to the Wokingham Town Centre regeneration of 2017 to 2018. At that time, the Conservatives were in control of the council, had been for many years. That regeneration project and the delays that came with it caused significant disruption and damage to trade right across the town centre. Now, during that time, it was the Liberal Democrats that called for free parking to help local businesses through that disruption. But back then, the Conservatives resisted the call for free parking. After considerable public pressure, they eventually conceded, but only introduced free parking after 3 p.m. Retailers at the time said this made little, if any, material difference to trade. That regeneration impacted the entire town, not just one area of the town. And even then, the free parking after 3 p.m. cost an estimated £49,000. Fast forward to 2025, and it's the Liberal Democrats who are in charge of the disruption, and the Conservatives who want to be generous with taxpayers' money. £650,000 worth of taxpayers' money. Now they are free from the burden of running the council, they apparently find themselves free to propose schemes that they themselves would have laughed out of the chamber. The roadworks on the south side of the town are causing major issues, delays for motorists and a knock-on effect for businesses. That's not in dispute. But the undeniable issue here is that this motion, as we have heard, would cost £650,000. It's just not a serious proposal. I would urge the Conservatives to practice responsible, grown-up politics rather than what we have here, which is a motion simply designed to generate an easy headline. It's gesture politics, it's unserious, it's opportunistic, it's irresponsible, and we can't support it.
Thank you. Can we move on then? Next one is Peter.
Madam Mayor, the works on the junction of Molly Millers Lane and Finch Hampstead Road are clearly having a detrimental effect on the businesses in Wokingham Town Centre. We have already heard about reports from retailers that footfall and turnover has fallen since the work started. When I talk to residents in Finch Hampstead, they tell me they are avoiding Wokingham due to the traffic problems, with many diverting their business to Bracknell, Yateley and Camberley. This is the reality for residents in the south of the borough. They have a choice of where to shop during these works, and the danger is that once the roadworks are completed, they will not return to Wokingham, causing a permanent impact on retailers. We saw the exact problem with the works on the California Crossroads. Many people have not returned to the post office, the pharmacy or grocery stores at the crossroads once the works were completed. The shops in Wokingham already have to compete against out-of-town shopping centres, where parking is free, and they now have the added impact of the works on the main route from Finch Hampstead, Wokingham Without and Barkham. This proposal will encourage people to return to the town centre at the most important time for the shopping year, Christmas. This is the time that shops finally make a profit and can survive into the new year. And Madam Mayor, it's not just this council who are having a discussion about 1 hour free parking. New Forest District Council recently debated this issue, and the Lib Dem councillor, Caroline Ratman, said introducing the first hour parking for free in town centre car parks was crucial to local businesses. The Lib Dems argued the move would support unique local businesses, encourage shopping in towns and villages, not just shopping in out-of-town sites with free parking. Will the Lib Dems on Wokingham join their colleagues in the New Forest and support the introduction of 1 hour free parking for hard-pressed retailers?
Thank you, Peter. Next is Adrian Betteridge.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There have already been many good points made in the speeches. I have to say my experience in Wokingham Town is somewhat different. I don't often drive into town, but I do often take a look around the car parks and look around the town centre, and I don't see quite the extraordinary changes which have been described by some of the speakers tonight. It is important that we don't talk up an issue beyond what's actually happening. I've already said a few things on this earlier this evening. The reality is that outside of the morning and evening peak, the delays coming over the level crossing by Wokingham Station are a matter of a few minutes, which frankly they always have been. The motion primarily is about providing free town centre car parking. As I said earlier, there has only been a tiny reduction, 2.5%, in parking tickets purchased in town compared to a like-for-like period last year. And as I also said, our measures of footfall based on mobile phone data show no reduction. In fact, they show a small increase. Therefore, I'll be voting against this motion primarily because it's a huge amount of money and I don't believe it would make any difference. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker is Kay Gilder.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've always supported the town centre. They are the heart of the community, and without human contact, the town dies, which is why I could never understand the attacks on all our town centres by this administration, the extended hours and the charges which have been hiked every year since they've been in control. Many of our residents must use their cars to visit our towns, as we live in a largely rural area and have many elderly residents who find it difficult to carry heavy shopping on the buses. I have visited Wokingham Town since the roadworks have started and noticed fewer people around. Maybe that's the time that I go. These car park charges have already been affecting the shops in Woodley. In the last 18 months, we also had many roadworks inhibiting access to Woodley shops, although not as severe as the Wokingham roadworks. I have talked to all the traders in Woodley in the past 2 years, and I'm told they have all experienced loss of trade since the times and prices of car park charges, some as large as 20%. This is unacceptable and cannot be continued. And this will happen in Wokingham. People do not have to go into Wokingham or Woodley town centres to use small local businesses and others. They can simply use the supermarket car parks, visit that supermarket, then leave again. In Wokingham, we have Waitrose, Tesco's, Aldi and Morrison's, all with free parking. Woodley has no free parking in the town centre, but has Marks and Spencer's, Aldi's, Sons, Sainsbury's and Asda, all within 2 miles of the centre of Woodley. At present, it's only the loyalty of the residents and the efforts of the Woodley Town Council that is keeping the centre vibrant, but with all prices rising, how long will this continue? And for your information, our neighbour, Henley, gives 1 hour free parking and have done for quite a few years and find that it really works to bring people in. I'm delighted to support this motion to give 1 hour free parking in Wokingham, but would ask also that Woodley car parks be included. Thank you.
Thank you. Next one is Imogen, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Looking at this motion, I feel that it is missing some very important points. It is widely reported that the UK retail and hospitality sector is currently in a severe decline, and the reported drop in footfall is everywhere across the UK, not just in Wokingham. We are seeing similar and probably worse declines in both Woodley and Twyford too. Kay's mentioned some earlier. Essentially, the cost of living is rising and many people are being cautious about with their spending and forgoing luxuries such as eating out. The national insurance increases and the national minimum wage increases, along with out-of-control energy costs, are hitting people's pockets. Productivity has flatlined, making it harder for businesses to invest in the UK and grow. And on the ground, that means wage increases are not keeping up with inflation. This motion is short-sighted in blaming just the Finchampstead roadworks, for these problems, and the question then becomes, why should people in Woodley, Earley and everywhere else in the borough be subsidising Wokingham when they have their own problems? Also, spending on car parking does not guarantee a boost for local retail, as we cannot, for instance, discriminate between the train commuters parking all day, the London train commuters, parking all day at Carnival Pool, but perhaps travelling to Reading and London instead. They too would get an hour's free parking with no intention of shopping locally. It also does nothing for those arriving by bus or on foot or other means. While it might sound like a nice idea, it is very clear that the cost of implementing this motion has not been fully thought through by our proposers, and there is clearly no plan for how this is going to be paid for. The funding pressures on our council are already severe, and this would mean that there would be no choice but to pull £650,000 worth of funding from those who need our help the most, such as children in care adults with disability and the elderly. I don't think any of our retailers was wanted to be doing that. One of the best ways to increase local productivity and boost the local economy is to improve our transport links, which is exactly what these roadworks will eventually do. We just need everyone to bear with us while this happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Shona is next.
Thank you. I have personally spoken to many small traders and market stall owners in Wokingham Town Centre, and they all support this motion. They've had a tough year. The recent rise in car parking charges discourages people from staying longer. They're also frustrated with the extra charges as they deter visitors from just browsing or having a quick coffee. Wokingham has lost its appeal as a place to linger. Furthermore, the extra financial burden of a few pounds in parking has become a big problem for many. This year, Wokingham has been particularly affected by the ongoing construction work on the Southern Distributor Road at the junction of Molly Millers Lane and Finchampstead Road. There have also been other roadworks in nearby roads. The closure of Finchampstead Bridge and the long diversionary route away from the town effectively bypasses it. Christmas is a time when traders hope to make most of their profits, and they rely on the extra income to get them through the difficult month of January, which usually doesn't bring in much. They're worried that the potential customers might choose to go somewhere else that offers better value. Offering free bus travel for the 6 Saturdays before Christmas and a couple of festival events may seem like a helpful measure, but it's not entirely effective. Many areas in Wokingham lack regular bus services. Finchampstead and Wokingham Without don't have any bus service at the weekends. Families won't be motivated to rush to the bus stops with young children and pushchairs. They won't enjoy carrying bags of Christmas purchases home on a bus or lugging them to their residence. The sole beneficiaries of this initiative are likely to be retired individuals who already have complimentary bus passes. To ensure Wokingham's continued vitality and vibrancy, we must provide unwavering support for our traders. Providing 1 hour free parking would go a long way towards addressing this issue. Failure to do so will result in their departure, as their continued presence will no longer be financially viable. The cumulative loss of traders in Wokingham will erode its appeal to other businesses, triggering a sharp decline in footfall and visitor numbers, ultimately devastating the town's prosperity.
Thank you very much. We have 30 minutes for this item, and I feel there's a lot of things people still want to say. I've certainly got 4 more speakers than the seconder proposer to wrap up. So I would like to suggest that we suspend Standing Order 514.8 to continue this motion discussion past the 30 minutes. Do I have a seconder, please? Thank you. All those in favour? Anybody against? Any abstentions? Fine, thank you very much. Right, we'll continue on the list. Caroline.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor, again. Many people will be aware that I spent several years managing a shop located in Wokingham Marketplace. I thoroughly enjoyed my time working in the heart of Wokingham, finding it a pleasure to be part of the local community. My tenure coincided with the regeneration of the town centre, which began in 2017. This period was marked by significant disruption. Not only was it difficult for customers to access the town centre, but it was a real challenge for the people to reach my shop. As a result, there were weeks when our take-ins dropped by 30 to 50%. The situation became so concerning that I attended a full council meeting as a member of the public to ask what support might be available for affected businesses. The only response provided at the time was the option to apply for a reduction in business rates. This support remains in place today. Businesses experiencing local disruption can make a request to the Valuation Office using their business rates valuation account to report the impact on their operation. I assume this information has been communicated to those businesses affected by such disruptions. Since retiring from my management role, I have returned to the same shop as a volunteer, and it continues to be a joy to contribute to the town of Wokingham. In my experience, the business is performing well. And also, I'm now retired, I have the opportunity to visit other towns across the country. And it is noticeable that many town centres elsewhere have a significant number of vacant shops. This is not the case in Wokingham, where shops remain open, busy, indicating a level of resilience in our local economy. Thank you.
Thank you. Next I have is Alex.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think we all approach being a councillor slightly differently, and I appreciate I've only been here a year and I'm young and inexperienced and all the rest of it, but my approach has always been that I was elected to this chamber to solve people's problems, right? It's really easy to find problems, but we are here to solve problems, right? And I know the Shadow Cabinet loves to accuse the government of playing sixth form politics, but this is some real GCSE work. You're asking the council to spend £650,000 so that drivers can save £1.20 every time they shop in the town centre. So, I mean, just to be clear, the problem is that maintenance works have reduced the capacity of our roads, and your solution is to pay people to drive into the town centre. Thank God you lot aren't running this council. As Mark has already said, this is also an uncosted plan because it doesn't say where this £650,000 is coming from. But even if we did have a source for this money, you'd honestly be better off splitting it between the 100 or so businesses that have been affected and just sliding them all £6.5 grand. I spoke to my corner shop owner as I was walking up to the chamber, and I've had a look at his books. And since the roadworks, his revenue has halved overall, and at peak hours, it's dropped to a third. He suggested the council offers loans to the affected businesses so that they can invest and rebuild for 2026. He needs 10 grand to install a couple of freezers. So why not ask for 5 grand of this back in the next 3 years and a commitment to invest 2 grand into the local community? I really think this should be a two-way relationship. And Mark, I did pass his partial details on to him, so I assume he will be in touch shortly. I have to give real credit to the Lib Dems for having so much patience with this. Just over a year ago, the Conservative Party was the oldest and most successful political party in the world. Electoral calculus now has you in 5th place behind the SNP. So if you're wondering why that is, it's because you keep showing up each month and wasting this chamber's time with cheap gimmicks. And we can all see what you're doing. So please just stop with these desperate attempts to win votes and start finding actual solutions to problems that adhere to your party's conservative values. And then you might win some votes back. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Rebecca.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This evening's been interesting, hasn't it? There's been quite a bit of debate, and it's healthy debate is what this council is all about. But I'm not sure whether Councillor Ashwell stating that this motion is crass is healthy debate. I think a lot of people sat watching at home would have probably looked at the way he was laughing and joking, making fun of the whole debate. Was he really taking this seriously as the kind of lead member for business? Well, we are here trying to raise the concerns of local businesses. I think those people that will have read his comments on social media recently, I can't believe the amount of response there was to them when he called it Phil's Little Shop. And probably a little bit like the comments when we had the issues at California Crossroads, the so-called California Commerce Club. Whatever happened to that? Nothing. Councillor Ashwell will be able to tell me because nothing happened with our local businesses. Nothing came forward, nothing happened, nothing came forward. So I do acknowledge there are concerns about potential revenue loss, but evidence from other councils shows that a modest free parking period often increases overall usage, and therefore longer stay revenue and local spending rise in parallel. Empty car parks don't generate income, busy ones do. In short, 1 hour of free parking is not a giveaway, it's an investment in our town centre, and it is for a short-term period. We are not asking for this for a long period, it's for a short-term period to support our traders. And in this difficult time, due to the ongoing roadworks, it is well needed. So I will be supporting this motion, and by supporting it, it would be taking a step forward to make our town centres a place that people want to visit, not just places that they avoid. Thank you.
Next on is Stephen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In time-honoured fashion, I have to say I wasn't planning to speak in this motion, but now I find myself compelled to do so. I think we all agree, and let's start with something we all agree on, that we want to support our local businesses and our town centres. I think we can all agree on that. It's about how we do it that we're in disagreement on. Now, Mark's explained some of the things we are already doing in his earlier statement, and we will continue to do all we can to support not just Wokingham Town Centre, but all of our town centres. I have to say, there is an air of unreality about this motion. Last council meeting, I recall the leader of the opposition pledging to support our campaign against government cuts to funding for Wokingham, which, just to remind you, over the next 3 years are proposed to be in the region of £50 million removed from our budgets. I hadn't expected that support to come in the form of trying to make the council's financial challenges more difficult, to the tune of 650,000. I thought you might have come up with a more constructive way of helping than that. My colleague Martin Andrea tells me that in the Netherlands, this kind of motion is called a free beer motion. And that seems to sum it up very nicely. It's an unfunded, irresponsible, populist gesture, and I'm afraid it should be dismissed on those grounds. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Shahid, as a seconder, you have reserved your right.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It was interesting to hear the debate. There's one message I can see sending out very clear to the business community, that we don't really care, we're not on your side. So this motion, I know this motion highlights the roadworks in Wokingham Town Centre and their impact on local business. But let's be clear, this problem isn't unique to the town centre. Not long ago, in Woodley, had 3 sets of roadworks going on at once, causing gridlock and seriously hurting local traders. So the real issue here is a lack of support businesses are getting from the council. Having spoken to many businesses owners, and as someone who runs 2 businesses myself, I can tell you, small businesses across the borough are facing one of the toughest trading periods in years. And it's not made easier by the recent increase of employer national insurance and minimum wage by the Labour government. These roadworks aren't just inconvenient. They are costing livelihoods, jobs, and putting local families under pressure. Many are reporting 20 to 30% drop in revenue, made worse by theft and higher car parking charges. To them, the council isn't just unsupportive, it is anti-business. We need to change that perception, and fast, and here's why this motion matters. Number one, local businesses are our backbone. They employ thousands and keep money circulating locally. When they thrive, our communities thrive. Number two, They give our towns their character. Once those independent shops and cafes disappear, they are hard to replace. Number 3, costs are piling up. Energy bills, supply issues, and reduced footfall, despite what the executive members were saying before, are taking their toll. Even small businesses like even small measures like 1 hour's free parking can help bring customers back. 4, supporting businesses now protects the council's own future. Closed shops mean lost rates, lost jobs, and less community vibrancy. And number 5, this is about solidarity. In tough times, local government must stand with their residents and traders. So colleagues, let's back this motion. Let's show our business community that this council cares and is willing to act. 1 hour's free parking might seem small, but it sends a big message to the business community that we are on your side. Thank you.
Thank you. Charles, you have the right to reply.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So let's turn to some of the responses today, and I'm going to start with Councillor Ashwell. He won't be surprised. I'm afraid I lost all respect for him when the moment he described the California Crossroads work as poetry in motion, as did many people basically who live in the area where I represent. All we've heard tonight, and it was shown in a speech he made beforehand, is warm words and no action. Let's pick up some quotes he made to the Woking paper regarding the Phil's Good Food story. Feeling sorry for ourselves when the going gets tough is not an emotion that helps. Phil is an inspiration, testament to what sets our Woking town centre apart. And I thank him for keeping his little shop alive. Warm words, no action, no promises, no change, no difference. The California Commerce Club was referred to tonight, mentioned in at least 3 speeches in this chamber. Nothing's happened. More promises of other business schemes tonight. I can guarantee you nothing will happen with them either. To turn to Councillor Harding's remarks, I'm afraid that car travel may be bad for the environment. You're probably right about that, basically, but shopkeepers need business and visitors to get to them. If that doesn't happen, they go out of business. To turn to Councillor Betteridge, I hear your point totally about parking figures. I don't disagree with that, but the 40% fall at Tesco's in turnover is not a myth. It has happened. The 25 to 30% fall in turnover elsewhere has happened. To turn to Councillor Freeney, from his name badge tonight, an utter hypocrite and also the master of the cheap, petty gimmick. He also clearly has no idea of how incentives or how business works. He criticises this for being unfunded and then offers another, in his own words, unfunded plan. Let's talk about, say, the way, because money has been mentioned here as well, repeatedly, the way this council has worked under the Liberal Democrats. The Carnival Pool Flats, 2023, an officer has confirmed to me, scheduled to turn a profit of 1.4 million, now forecast to make a loss of 1.3 million. That's 2.7 million black hole in the council's finances. Toutley East, the development costs, which I was promised by the leader a breakdown on at the last council meeting, which I still haven't had, £1 million written off on a scheme that has gone no further. These offices vacant for 2 years. No tenant here, nothing going on. The old Marks and Spencer's building, vacant with a charity shop in it, that should have been sold for redevelopment years ago if finances were so tough. And finally, Stephen called this motion popularist, but I would ask people here, who do they represent? We're trying to represent the interests of the traders in the town who are struggling and need help. Who do you represent? Significant falls in turnover are a fact. It is also true, as some of you had mentioned, that economic times are difficult, which is why people here need our help. Threats to employment, people's livelihoods, income, all the social factors that come with that. You should be listening. You clearly are not. So dismissive, so out of touch, and it really should be so much better.
Thank you very much. That's the end of the speeches on the motion. We now move to the vote. Could I ask for all those against to show, please? No, all to for. Sorry, do beg your pardon. All those for. Read them online. Okay, thank you. Put your hands down. And all those against? Any abstentions? So the motion falls. Thank you very much. And that marks the end of the meeting. Thank you very much for your patience.